we talked a few weeks ago about that meeting of minds of the Taliban and the Chinese Communist Party, the handshake and the photo in the Great Hall of the People. I've been there, you've been there. We've all been there over the years. We've now got President Xi has decided to emulate his hero, his boyhood hero of Mao Zedong, the bloke who killed millions of his own citizens because, well, if they didn't agree with him, they were surplus to requirements. He's now come out with his own version of the little red school book. He is now going to teach kids as young as 7. You know, I talked earlier tonight about philosophy, Western philosophy, the stuff that should strengthen our principles. They're getting on with it. The little red school book Mark II, we can call them jihadists as far as I'm... Jihadists, as, you know, to play on his name and the fact that they're now going to be acolytes of his view of the world. This is a very frightening set of times we're living in.
Gary, you're spot on. I mean, your original opening remarks about the origins of the democracy that we have brought a long way in that we don't have slaves anymore in our society. They do in other parts of the world, but not in our society. But the origins of democracy are what we should learn about and understand. And what President Xi is doing is teaching very young hearts, as he calls them, to love the Communist Party, love their nation, have duty to their nation, and be proud of their civilization at exactly the same time that we're tearing ours down. And it is the socialist agenda that would like to see us as a vassal state of China and see China as the world dominant power. Now, you mentioned also the article in the Australian publishing, the article from the Times of London, noting that in 1983, Margaret Thatcher and Ronald Reagan launched the International Democrat Union. I became a member of the executive of that organisation in the mid-1980s and remained so there for about a decade. And so I attended many meetings with Margaret Thatcher, with Ronald Reagan, with Kohl, with Chirac, many of those people who were leaders of parties of the centre-right. And the excitement and the thinking and the leadership that just came from those people was just extraordinary. It was invigorating. It made you passionate about what you believed in. And the thing was that these people were conviction politicians. They believed in what they'd inherited and how they could improve the society and what had to be done for the ordinary people to prosper as individuals. No collectivism. There are only two philosophies, individualism and collectivism. Individualism, you want the individual to reach their maximum potential and have that opportunity to do so. With collectivism, the individual can always be sacrificed to the collective. And those two fundamental things underpin everything else that we do to develop the policies that serve the nation which is going to prosper. So China is teaching socialism is the way, love socialism, love the Communist Party, and we're saying, don't be proud of what we do, attack it. And they have crept into our system and we have to refute it. We have to turn it back. We have to identify for what it is and we have to turn it back. We can't wallow in it and say it's woke and think, well, maybe it'll go away. We have to identify it for what it is and the threat that it is to our nation. They want us as a vassal state, but the Australian people's backbone is better than that.
Well, look, I think the trouble is we're sort of lying over and allowing this to happen. And this is why that whole instruction about Western civilisation, Tony Abbott was on about it, the late Paul Ramsey was financing it, and yet university after university repelled it. And it was, to my mind, an enormous opportunity to actually have the kind of discussion we're having here, to broker some of the truths and the principles that served for, what, 2,500 years since Pericles' great oration. You can look it up, you can read about it, you can read Burke, you can read all of these other people who have been instrumental leaders. We've just got to get this show back on the road because Australia is very vulnerable right now.